No, we don't need it. I said yes or no. We don't have to.
Let's keep it short. Keep it.
Could we do this one instead? You don't have to do the English if you don't want to.
It's better than Yailalai sometimes.
It is.
I cannot stand the English.
Don't do it. Let's do Yada and the Baruch.
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine. We got no Mihamoha. Where did the Mihamoha go? We got no Mihamoha. Where did she go?
What about one of the OZ?
We can do OZ.
Yeah, let's do OZ.
Yet, we still need a Mihamoha. Alright, I know you hate this one, but we do have this one. We could do it without the English. Oh, look. Oh, yeah, here it is. It's not bad, even with the English. We need the capo, though.
Did we just say it sounds Jewish?
What makes it Jewish, Rabbi?
What makes it Jewish? I have one thing. This is music. Here, go. D minor. That's it, right? D minor.
It has to be in a minor, correct? I think that's what you're saying. There's a minor. There's an E minor in there.
Yeah.
Well, sir. Never enough Mihamohas. I don't even know what this is. Play these chords and see what comes out. Okay. Try that. So let's, wait, no, keep going. That's not, keep going, actually. Oh, yeah, I think that is it. Try Miha.
What is this?
Miha. Let's see if that's it. Mocha. I don't know if that's what it is, but.
That's right. Is that the third line? It's like,
I think A minor. Keep A minor. Yeah.
Chord missing. What's next to the A minor?
Well, so I would have done it exactly the same as they did. Should we just switch that?
So let's
I
try
would have
that.
done E, G, A minor, G, E minor, A minor again. Try that. Yeah, that's nice. You know what I think when we did this before, we were just making up our own chorus. Ours are better.
What's that?
When we did this before, we were just trying to like hear it, and she adds a few things. Like we didn't have that C. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, cool.
You might have to like just keep. You might need a.
I am. Those ones I wanted or didn't want. These are the ones I didn't want. I like it. Ehud Bana is awesome. He is so I have a question for you. Does anyone except for us, for people, have opposable thumbs?
I think
Great apes do, right? Is that
yeah,
it?
I feel like primates do.
How come they can't build cool stuff like us? How come they can't build cool stuff like us? Primates.
They choose not to.
Is it really?
Yeah. Why? There are dozens of articles right now that primates are entering the Stone Age.
What?
What? Look it up. Google it right now.
I'm not going to because it's only Shabbat, but that is cool.
Google it right now.
I'm not going to Google it right now, but
Their
that is awesome.
brain capacity has increased, and there's now that we have like pictures of primates over like the course of like a long time, we're actually seeing them use tools.
That's
using
awesome.
So, Planet of the Apes, man.
That is awesome. I'm not sure if it's going to turn out
Better
well
be
for
nice.
us.
Everybody better be nice.
All right. So welcome, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We're so glad that you could be tuning in virtually and watching us on this last Shabbat before Passover. So we're going to start tonight just singing a little bit of Oziv Zimrat Yah, this song that we've been singing now for more than a year, certainly, that just reminds us to always be lifting up our voices in song to God so that we can find ways to praise and make sacred these moments, whether they are difficult or beautiful. Still, we praise God. Oziv Zimrat Yah, Yeshua. Oziv Zimrat Yah, Yeshua. Oziv Zimrat Yah, Yeshua. Oziv Zimrat Yah, So we start our service tonight, as we do every time we come together, acknowledging that since we are not able to be worshiping in one place, that many of you are sitting at your Shabbat tables. And so we begin with our Shabbat blessings, and we're going to light our Shabbat candles. Will you be the lighter tonight? Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. And we turn towards our Kiddush. And, often on Friday nights we make a joke because sometimes we have soda or something else instead of wine. But I do want to remind you, especially in anticipation of Seder tomorrow night, that wine is not a requirement at any sort of sacred event. You can always still have the other fruit of the vine, have some sort of grape juice. It does not need to be alcoholic. So before you turn to your 4 cups tomorrow night, just remember, grape juice is okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. And I know that for those of you who keep all of the different eating customs over Passover, that you may have been cleaning out your homes of chametz, of anything that has leavening in it, knowing that you're not going to be eating it for the next few days. So that's what we're doing tonight. Instead of digging into a whole new challah, we have our nice sitzel bread. So, but same blessing, just the same, whatever kind of chametz it is. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
I'm so used to having it.
It's true. So one of the ways that we often acknowledge the difference between Shabbat and the rest of the week is we say that this time is so holy that it feels as if sometimes there are angels in our midst. And so we sing a beautiful song that is really meant to be sung at the Shabbat table, but we sometimes do here as well, the words of Shalom Aleichem. And if you're following along in your prayer book, it is on page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem LaShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we call each other to blessing, we call each other to worship with the words of the Baruch Hu, which, if you're following along in our Siddur, can be found on page 28. Yada dai dai dai, 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 yada dai dai dai. Baruch Hu Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yadadai-dai-dai, 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 yadadai-dai-dai. And we take now a moment to say the words of the Shema. And these words we know are the words that you're supposed to say every morning when you get up and every night before you go to bed. These words that remind us of the oneness of God. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. So while there is, so much of the Jewish story is really all about the Passover story, the prayer, the piece of liturgy that most connects us to the story of Pesach is the Mihamoha, the prayer that we're going to read actually. Is that next Saturday? Yeah, so next Saturday, it's the Torah portion. So Gabe's Bar Mitzvah, we're going to read it then. But it's the Torah portion that shows the Israelites crossing the sea and singing the words of Mihamoha. Now, they may not have done it this tune, but however they did it, the words are still the same. Mihamoha, Bailim Adonai, Mihamoha, Kedar Bakodesh, Norati Lo, Osefele, Norati Lo, Osefele, Mihamoha, Bailim Adonai, Mihamoha, Kedar Bakodesh. The story of the Seder, though, is really, it's not just about this act of the Exodus. It's not just about the fact that we were redeemed from slavery. It's what happens next. That's the story that we need to teach our children. Not just the act that we were redeemed, but that once we were freed, what did we do with that freedom? A freedom which can be terrifying. A freedom in which we still need God's protection. So every time we sing Mihamoha, after it, we follow it in the evenings with the words of Hashkivenu, asking God, once we are free, to spread God's presence of peace over us. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. I had someone not long ago ask me how much Hebrew is in our services. And it really reminded me that certainly from the time I was a child, but I think even from the time that you and I have been here as rabbis, there is a lot more Hebrew than there used to be. And I recognize that for some of you that is very comforting and very appealing, and for some of you it is a little bit off-putting because it's not the language with which you're familiar. But no matter what, we always have to remember that the truth is that God hears all of our prayers, no matter what language they're in. And it doesn't really matter if it is the prayer that you're saying in Hebrew, or a prayer that you're saying in English, or a prayer that you're saying in German or French or whatever it is. We have to understand that God hears all of our prayers just the same. So I'm going to ask you, if you will, just for a moment, we're going to turn to one of our prayers in the Siddur that is known as Tefillah. And this prayer, which I often say when I introduce it, is one that our ancestors, they knew that we would come to a time like this and we might not know the words. And so, in fact, traditionally, this prayer is said silently first to make sure that no one feels ashamed that they don't know the words. So hopefully in your homes, whoever you are surrounded with, if you're watching this alone or if you're with family and friends, you are not with someone who would ever make you feel ashamed. But while we do this, recognize that even if you don't know the words, that even if it doesn't seem familiar, that as long as you are offering the prayers of your hearts, silently or aloud, that you are doing what our ancestors intended. If you are following along in the Hebrew, it's on page 46. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita ilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. We turn our hearts now to prayers for peace, offering those not just for our family circles, but for our country, for our world, praying that God sends peace and blessings to all of us. On page 60, Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. Ki atah melech Adon, Lachol Shalom. Ki atah melech Adon, Lachol HaShalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol eitz u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. For the past few years in our Women's Seder, we've done a reading that is just one of my favorites, and we put it into the Haggadah. And it's about the Broken Matzah, and this idea that the Broken Matzah is really the most valued one in the Seder. That's the one that you go and look for that becomes the Afikomen. Brokenness is something that each of us experience, and that is hard to value, because when we are feeling broken, when we are feeling ill, it is hard to think of it as anything but a place of pain and heartache. So at the very least, we can honor each other's brokenness by praying for each other, by turning our hearts towards those who are feeling broken, who are not whole. So tonight in particular, we are thinking of those members of our community who are feeling broken. We're thinking of Lisi Weinstein, of Jerry Krause, of Arlene Alper, of Charles Beach, of Stanley Beresdorfer. And for those who need our healing prayers but would rather us not say their names aloud, know that we are thinking of you. We're thinking of your families. And we pray that you find the healing and wholeness that you need. Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'yakol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav u'ya'aseh shalom So tomorrow night begins Passover. And before I even get started, I do just want to say once again something that I've said many times over the years and over the past few weeks, but just a reminder that Passover is a home holiday. And part of what that means is that you have the freedom to do whatever you'd like in your own home. This is a holiday where you will not have rabbis telling you this is how you should do it and this is what you should do. So we hope that whatever it is that you are doing this Passover, whether you are having an elaborate Seder or whether you're just finding a way to keep one of the Passover traditions, that this is your holiday. It is something for you to experience on your own. And really the central part of this holiday is all about telling the story in whatever way you can. That's what Pesach is. You know, I know that we refer to this holiday both as Pesach, its Hebrew name, and Passover. They don't actually have the same meaning. Pesach in English is what, Paschal, I guess? It doesn't really help us very much. But we say Pesach or Passover because the reason we say Passover is there's this scene in the Pesach story when the Israelites are told that they need to put blood on the doors of their homes so that the angel of death will know to pass over them, right? And that whole image has always seemed a little bit strange to me, right? Like not only a little bit gross, but this idea that putting blood as a marker on your door, that would be the sign that the angel of death is going to pass you by? It seems, right, like putting blood on your door, on your home would be a marker of death, but actually it's just the opposite. That blood shows a period of transition, of holiness. That blood is really not about death, but it is about life, that those people in the homes were going to live. And we actually find throughout Jewish tradition that this idea of using blood as a marker is really more about life than death. We see it in the Torah and all of the times that you make some sort of an offering in the ancient temple so that your life would continue and be better as it was. We see it, in the rituals of Nidal. We see it when a baby boy is circumcised on the 8th day, right? Because that's a sign that this baby boy is going to live and be a part of our community. It's talking about blood as a sign of transition, blood as a sign of life and better things to come. And I have thought about that idea a lot this week which has been, such a bloody and horrible one in our country. The idea that it took a pandemic for us to see an absence, or at least a very serious reduction in these massive shootings, and now the world is starting to open up again, and we have 2 within 1 week. It has almost made me speechless, I will say, but really what it has made me think is, how can we look at the blood from these stories as somehow being a sign of transition, a sign that we can get to a better life? How can we make sure that that blood, that those lives were not lost in vain, that somehow they can be for something good, a transition to a better life for our country? And so I was thinking about this idea of what it means to use blood in that way that we see in the Seder, and we actually see it again in this week's Parsha. In this week's Parsha, Moses is ordaining the priests. He is ordaining Aaron and his sons. And what he does is he takes blood from a sacrifice, and he takes the blood and he places it upon Aaron and his sons, showing that they are now transitioning to something different, that they are going to become something different and be able to bring new sacred life to the Jewish people. And he takes the blood and he puts it specifically on their thumbs, their ears, and their feet. So why those parts of the body? Now, the truth is that I did a lot of research this week, and I really could not find very many Jewish teachings that explain why the thumbs and the ears and the feet. Even Rashi, who has something to say about everything, Rashi didn't have anything to say about this. But I wonder if, at least for a modern context, there is something that we can see from these parts of the body. I think about thumbs. And I think about this idea that as humans, Rabbi Michael and I were talking about this before, primates as well, but as humans, what sets us apart from most of the animals on this planet is we have these amazing, remarkable thumbs, these thumbs through which we can build incredible tools. And we can also build tools of destruction. What if this is a reminder that these same very hands that were used to build guns, to build things that could take away lives, that those too can be used for a different purpose? Now, what that purpose may be is still up to us. Maybe it's using our hands to be able to write letters. Maybe it's being able to use our hands to create locks and to put locks on gun cabinets or whatever needs to be done. But we have the ability to create marvelous things as well as to create destructive things. We need to remember what we're using our hands for. And why the ears? Well, the ears is all about listening. And I will be honest with you, I try so hard to do as much as I can when I speak from the Beamer, when I speak with you, to really look at both sides of every issue that I'm going to talk to you about. And I will admit that this is one I struggle with, that I do have a hard time understanding why common sense gun solutions are things that are questioned by people in this country. But I will tell you, I know that there are many of you who don't want those things, who are opposed to some of the different legislation that has come through our government. And so what I would like to suggest is that I am ready to do some listening. I would love to hear from those of you who are not in support of some of this legislation, to help me understand what you believe. And I hope that all of us will be able on this issue, like so many others, but to truly be able not just to think, I am right, I know the right thing to do, but really be able to listen to those on the other side, because that's the only way that we are going to pass any sort of legislation. That's the only way that we are going to be able to make things better in this country, is if, in fact, we can truly listen to people who believe differently than us. That's the only way that we'll find some sort of compromise. So it's our thumbs, it's our ears, and it's our feet. Why our feet? Well, we know that for the past few years, we have had so many thoughts and prayers, and of course, it's time for something more. That we have to know that whatever we do to make our country a safer place, for our children when they go to school, for each of you when we open up our doors again and you're able to come back in and pray, for people who just want to go to their jobs or just do their grocery shopping, to be able to do that, we're going to have to do more than praying, and we're going to have to do more than talking. We are going to have to pray with our feet and be able to take action. I was talking to Rabbi Michael on the way to services tonight, and he was referencing a rabbi of his who said that Pesach is a time to reset. My friends, let this be a reset for us. So whether it is questions of gun control or how to make our country safer or whatever it is, the many problems that we have in our country today, let this be a reset this Pesach so that we can start over, so that we can dedicate ourselves to the causes that matter most, to the ones that will keep our family and our friends and our loved ones safe, so that now, as we're starting over again with this Pesach, that we will really be able to make this a country and a world that all of us feel that we have the freedom to live in the way that we wish. So I'll ask you, if you will, if you are following along in the service, we're going to turn now to the words of the Alinu that's at the very back of your prayer book on page 282.
Alinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei artzot, v'lo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo samchalkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol amonam, va'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So at this point in our service, we always take a few moments and we honor those whose lives have been lost and who we're thinking of at this Pesach season. So tonight we're thinking in particular of those who've been taken from us in recent days, and our hearts go out to their families in sympathy as we recall their names: Bernard Miller, Arthur Muskin, Jean Sachs. And we now recall the names of those, the anniversary of whose death occurs on the Shabbat, and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation or on the Wall of Honor for perpetual memorial: Gertrude Silverstein Alpert, Max Edward Aronson, Marguerite Strecker Bear, Harry Raymond Bean, Norton Frederick Bender, Jack Berg, Esther Offenbach Book, Barbara Brockhaus, Jonathan Israel Cohen, Rosalind Geist Epstein, Zella Esrock, Martin Feist, Leo Frank, Ida Vetzberg Friedheim, Oscar Frisch, Dr. Jeffrey Scott Gall, Carrie Glazer, Harold E. Goldberg, Thomas Green, Albert M. Greenblatt, J. Gordon Hedges, Jr., Lionel M. Herman, Theodore Hoffman, Marvin Holtzman, Marion Harris Isaacs, Laura Mae Isaacson, Fanny Isserman, Mo Jacobs, Frida Steiner Klauber, Ruth Kosberg, John Corriger, Amy Lears, Leon Littman, Max Lubin, Raymond Morgenstern, Mildred Bluestein Newman, Dr. Louis John Posner, Esther Rimmel, Ned Roberts, Alex Rockman, Saul Roos, Stanley Rosenfeld, Rose Rubin, Harry Shash, Leo Shermer, Annette Schoenberg, Sadie Reichman-Schukart, Carl Schweitzer, Pauline Silver, Rose Sigloff Silver, Arthur Simon, Sarah Stein, Max Wedelis, June Sacker-Weil, Gertrude Weiss, Dr. Richard Weiss, Anna Weiss, Laurel Cahan Wilson, Manuel Yanow, Dr. William Bernard Zellick. So with these names and the names we keep in our hearts, we turn towards the words of the Mourner's Kaddish in your Siddur on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbam, ba'amad yivarach l'ruteh v'yamlich machloteh, b'chayachon uvyomechon, uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam olmei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei d'kudusha b'rechu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, ta'amiran ba'ama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alinu v'okol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alinu v'okol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alinu v'okol Yisrael, v'imru amen. So for our closing song tonight, we thought we would do one that is very much in the Passover spirit. It's by what did Mandy Patinkin say? My good friend Debbie Friedman.
Mandy Patinkin's good friend.
If you haven't seen this on YouTube, you got to watch Mandy Patinkin sing the Misha Berach. It's brilliant. But this one's not the Misha Berach, but it's another goodie from Debbie Friedman.
Passover song?
It is a Passover song for sure. And the women dancing with their timbrels follow Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every thread and every strand she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances towards the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels follow Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part, and with an outstretched hand we would march to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels follow Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels follow Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. Woo!
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, and we will see you next Shabbat.
And maybe next year in Jerusalem.
Amen. L'shana